Hello, hello. Good morning, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Happy Sunday morning for fellow Australians and Saturday night for you guys in the US. And Sunday, very early morning, like 5 a.m. or something in Europe. Still getting over my cold or whatever I had. Today, we're going to talk about what you really want in a partner, or more what I'm getting at, what you really need. But that comes after honest assessment and self-reflection. But the more and more I talk to people and have these conversations, we all have these fantasy wants, and wouldn't it be nice? It's kind of like asking yourself the question when you have these conversations and fun ones with friends and, what kind of person would I like to have and what's my dream girl or guy? It's kind of like, what would I do if I won the lottery? It's not very realistic. And I feel like a lot of people are just fantasizing about if they got the lottery handed to them. And it's not really a realistic conversation. And so I wanted to talk today about this. Do you know what you actually want in a partner? And more importantly, your haves, the things you absolutely must have because you've thought about this and you've thought about yourself, compared to what you just want. What's just fun to have? What would be a bonus? And you'd laugh that you even got it. You're lucky that you have it. But, you've got extra. But I feel like everyone's focusing on the extras, the fun stuff, the lottery win, the trip, the vacation, the yacht, the supercar, all of this fun extra lottery fantasy-based stuff, but not really who they are in their normal pedestrian everyday life, where they have a conversation with somebody else. They have a friend, they go to the supermarket, they sleep, they eat, they go to the bathroom. They don't really think about their partner in that context. They think about them in an Instagram kind of way, in a hot photo kind of way, if you know what I mean. So have a think about this. What are your must-haves? What do you really have to have from a partner? Just even up to one specific thing or two. Don't make it too many, because then you'll really get to the heart of what's an absolute must-have, and everything else starts to go down the list. I was talking with Stephanie about this yesterday, and with Karu as well the other day, where there are so many. If you get the fundamentals of what you need with a person, and it's not easy, I get it. It's not easy to find somebody. But when you do, the things that used to irritate you, all the small things about how they chew, how they leave their cup, and all of these things, they become funny and laughable. When you don't get what you must have with a person, what you absolutely need with yourself as Bobby in your day-to-day, how I live, whether I'm an introvert, extrovert, my lifestyles. Am I a morning person, night person? Do I like doing this or that? And the other person is exactly the opposite, or has absolutely no interest, or finds your core values laughable or even disgusting or off-putting. You start arguing about the small little bullshit things. So, do you know what you want in a partner? So think about this, and I'll go through some of your questions and comments. If you're here live and you would like to ask me a question during this stream, if you want to, especially a super chat, you really want to talk about something I'm just mentioning, drop me a super chat or a comment with 3 smiley faces like this, and I'll definitely read them out. But after I tell you what I think about this subject, about your must-haves versus nice-to-haves, but you really need your must-haves in a potential partner, then we'll go on and have a chat about it together. So the more and more I talk to people, and look, I was in this boat too. you haven't had that much experience, or you've had bad luck, you don't know what you want when you're in your 20s. You're fumbling around. It's trial and error. And then you gain the evidence through your empirical experience in your life. Then you find out, a hot mess is fun for a second, but not for tomorrow and to introduce to your family and friends. So actually, I should probably switch my phone on silent. I just heard it buzz. So, what is your lifestyle? Do you know, for instance, what a typical week, a good week, looks like for you? Because many of us, I know, when I was going to work and they said, "Oh, what did you do on the weekend?" And I said, "Oh, nothing. I had a pizza on Friday night. I watched movies, and Saturday I did this and that, and I potted around, and I played video games, or I drew, worked on my comic books. I went for a run." I really didn't do much noteworthy stuff that you can really publish it as a video or an Instagram post. And I always, in a little way, felt as though I wasn't really giving them a great story, whereas all these people is like, "Oh, I went to this market and went up the coast and we stayed at this Airbnb and blah, blah, blah." And it's like, okay, interesting. Mine were pretty boring by comparison, but I actually loved my mundane pedestrian weeks. If you know what your weeks look like, what does it for you? And yeah, everyone likes going on their kind of vacation for a minute, but then you like going back home. So what really feels like home to you, and what does your day and week look like? Your perfect weeks that you want to be consistent, realistically consistent day in and day out. Then you can start to look for, well, what's a realistic partner in terms of who I am, what my day-to-day, week-to-week is, and what my values are. What do my routines look like? Will a person fit into this, or will I have to say goodbye? Think about that. Will you have to say goodbye to the life that is comfortable with you, for you, and that you really like, and you would rather not change? And if you did, you wouldn't really kind of know what to do, and you don't really have a script for anything else. And you have to attach yourself to Chicky Poo, and she has to lead your life from now on. A lot of guys do that. I've done that in the past as well. And it's not a great way to live, let alone have an intimate relationship with someone. And by the by, just as a side tangent, people in the comments, and I've heard this online, they have a problem with me using the term partner. But tell me what other term I'm supposed to use if I'm trying to talk about whether you have a girlfriend, a wife, whatever significant other. You know, I can write significant other, but that's kind of long-winded. But what else am I supposed to use? And by partner, and I don't know if it's people like Richard Cooper or anyone else, they keep going on about you should never use the word partner because it implies that they're on equal standing. They're not. Stephanie and I are very different. We have very different roles, and we have very different responsibilities in the relationship. But just like even business partners, you don't have two people doing the same job. You split the role. There's different levels. There's one that's ultimately leading and responsible for everything, and then there's one person that's the CTO or the CFO or second in charge, but they're not the top guy. So also, let me know if you're here live, what other term, aside from a long-winded significant other avoiding kind of term, what else is comparable to partner, you know? And I don't really see partner as two exact same equal people with the same risks and responsibilities. I just see them as a team. So you let me know. I'll use a different comparable word if it makes sense. But all these dude bros online, they get really triggered, like, "Oh, dude, you don't use partner. You do not use that. You use this." It's like, maybe in your triggered world you do, but I know what I mean when I trying to use a word that encapsulates everyone's significant other in a conversation. And also, I want to keep my titles short. Yeah, Ted actually says partner is for law firms. Okay. Silva says partner is the best word to cover most possible situations. Why is my camera not focusing on me? Yeah, let me know what would work. Yeah, people that have this hang up, no, partner is for legal law. Tell me what else. But anyway, I'm digressing. But just have a think about it. Skender says, respect, that's all I want from a female. Yeah. If they're compatible with you and they have the similar values to you, then noticing the respect that you have for each other is... But then just having respect, that could just be politeness. Someone could be raised well and be a decent person. And I've gone out with people like that. They've been raised well, they're respectful, they don't treat me like crap, but we still start fighting about the toothbrush or why you won't turn left or right or do it this way or that way. Anyway. Well, that's an option, Frank. Term of mate, perhaps. It's very biological, though, when you say, does your mate do this? It's very clinical, whereas I'm talking about the personal. I do agree, that's kind of another one that encapsulates everything, but it's very clinical and very scientific, but I'm talking personal, right? Very, very human, pardon the pun. So I'm open to suggestions, but I think partner is the closest thing. And when you, if I title something, does your partner blah, 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 people know what I mean. So have a think about it. I'm open to suggestions. I'm not closed-minded, but it needs to make sense in the way that I'm talking about it. Yeah. Yeah, but then, Terry Dean, I don't want to have to say girlfriend, wife, or significant other. If I'm making a short title, or I just want to really tell you the group of people, your significant partner, your romantic, your lover, how can I term that? That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I can make it very clear by adding multiple words. Anyway. Companion. Okay, that's getting closer. That's good. My concubine. Look, I can laugh and have jokes as much as you want, but if some of you guys are serious about this, you got your own problems that I can't help. Yeah, this is true as well. Words today have really been co-opted and bastardized. But again, I'm talking to, in the context of who I'm talking to, people know what I mean once you start getting into a discussion. But I feel like today, any word you use, there's some group that's going to be triggered by something. Yeah. I like the term partner, you're a team. Yeah. It doesn't mean you have the same roles and responsibilities and things like that. Prince Revolver, how are you, man? Thanks for the super chat. I appreciate it. He says, in my opinion, you should be willing to give to just as much as you expect, not in a tit-for-tat way. Yes, I don't need much from a woman, but at the base level, I need fairness above all. Okay, we're getting back onto the topic of this stream, which is this. Do you know what you want from a partner? What are your must-haves and what are your nice-to-haves? And this comment from Prince Revolver, this super chat, is on point as far as I'm simpatico with this. I remember being taught this lesson from my parents in terms of fairness and how to treat other people, and especially intimate relationships, whether they're platonic or romantic. Don't be tit for tat with friends or your partner. Don't be like, well, I paid for this and next time they've got to pick it up and why didn't they? Now I'm going to be bitter and cross my arms and pout like a child until it keeps being balanced exactly like a neurotic scientist. It's no way to have a trusting friendship, especially if you don't talk and you're not open. If you keep this inside and you notice your partner or friend, you pay twice in a row and you just keep getting bitter, and you let it affect your mood or your relationship, it's no good. You should speak up and say, dude, I paid the last 2 times. How about you pick up the tab this time? Or you tell your partner as well, if you're used to splitting the bill. It's like, are you ever going to bring your purse? And you laugh about it, and you just let them know. And if they get annoyed, it's like, hang on a minute, are we getting serious about this? You're not going to pay anymore? Then you get serious. But you have to speak up about this stuff. Pardon me. Stephanie and I did our first live stream recently. Click on my main page right at the bottom. There's a link to my other channels, and one of them is my joint channels with Stephanie. And we did a Q&A live stream last night on our channel, and we talked about some of this. The fairness, and it was an open question and answer session about questions people might have about us being in a couple, or as individuals now, as the partner of the other person, how it is, and especially from 2 of us both being pretty much single and alone, aside from dating here and there and having a relationship here and there, to now actually being married and living with somebody. So there were interesting questions, and we discussed a bit of that, so have a look at that. And there's also the I did a related video to this subject, do you know what you want in a partner? A video I asked, is she good for me? And that's also tied into this. What are the values you need? The absolute must, non-negotiable must-haves that you need. Not all the nice-to-haves, not the icing of the cake. What is the cake you need? And then the icing is an extra. So, yeah, have a look at those videos and streams. So, back to my thoughts on this. So, do you know what you want in your partner, right? What is your lifestyle like? And are you prepared to change it? Some people are actually done with their old life. They're treading water, and they would really like to move on to another chapter of their life. Similar to people who are sick of living in a certain suburb and they want to move somewhere else, or they live at home and they're ready to fly the coop and live somewhere else to be independent. So there's a difference if you're actually ready for a change in your life, right? But if you like your life, you know who you are, and you like who you are, and you don't really see yourself changing in your core values and your environment and your week to week and your year to year, and you just want to maintain what you have, can it accommodate anybody else? And are you willing to alter it, accommodate someone else into your life, like I did with Stephanie, but we already had very comparable lives. They were very similar. Or are you prepared to, and you want to, say goodbye to an old part of you, your old lifestyle, and you're sick of it, but you're doing it because what else am I going to do with my time? Or you can limit it. You like video games, but it's not as fun as it used to be, and you're just passing the time, and you're fine instead of playing, I don't know, 4 hours of video games a day. You're fine playing 4 hours in one hit on the weekend, or half an hour every night before bed when you're with somebody else. So things like that. Think about what you actually want now, and can it accommodate somebody else? Or are you being delusional? Do you just want a woman just to fit in your frame, and she's just going to be a pet on a leash? Which brings me on to the second point. Are you being realistic in what you want in a partner? Do you just want the best because that's easy? Yeah, give me a Bugatti. Yeah, everyone likes that. I'd like it. I don't even have to think about it. Give me a Victoria's Secret supermodel. Are you realistic about what you want? Are you just a person that never goes out? You're stuck behind a screen at home. You like your life, but you're bitch moaning and complaining about not having a Victoria's Secret girlfriend or a great partner, and you don't go out. Are you being realistic in what you want and how you're living your life to get it? You don't have to be David Goggins. You don't have to be anything extreme. But are you not doing even the basics to get even a low level of the thing you want? Which brings me to the third point. Are you being fair? And it's a little different than being realistic. Are you comparably being fair? What can you offer? Is what you expect from the other person comparable to what you can offer? Is your lifestyle comparable to theirs, where you can play this feedback loop, this tennis match with the person, and it can realistically work? So, just like we can point to the ridiculous podcasts of delusional women who are 3s thinking they're 10s and expecting 10s or expecting 15s in a guy. And they're just so cocky and arrogant, right? Think about it. How much of that do you have in yourself I know it's good to have a bit of pushback to these ridiculous entitled people. So you push them away. So you overcompensate with, F off. But don't become like them either. Stay in reality. Are you offering a comparable value for value, or are you in the ballpark? So, for instance, Stephanie and I are different, but what I offer and what she offers, we can play a nice game of tennis, and we're very similar people. So it doesn't need to be a mirror of each other, but do you offer value for value? Do you have similar values? Things like that. And are you a 3 complaining about not getting a 10? Are you completely delusional? Then these conversations, of course, they're going to annoy you, and they're going to be confronting, because you probably would need a straitjacket and some meds and a mental asylum, as far as I would say, because you're not being realistic. So the reality is, and it brings me to the point of this stream, what are your must-haves and what are your nice-to-haves? So given what I've said thus far about knowing who you are and what you really want, what are your 1 or 2 top things that you really need in terms of your lifestyle and values and who you are? And then are you looking for a comparable fair thing out there? Those standards, they match? Do those values match? Then you can put a list of, here are my must-haves, 1 or 2. Or 3 maybe, but really you should know what's at the top of your tree. And then the nice to haves, which could be a long laundry list of great in bed, great cook, this kind of body, outgoing, reads, IQ above this. Take your pick. But I think a lot of the dating advice out there is focusing solely on the nice to haves. And I think they think the must-haves you can't get, that's a unicorn. So you might as well just take what you can get with a hookup on a nice-to-have. Yeah, she's hot. She's good for this little portion. So you're going out there having relationships with the icing on the cake all the time and complaining about the lack of cake, but you don't even want the cake because you've decided that you don't even know. You think your must-haves that should be very reasonable, like a lack of temper, a decent, kind person, a fair person, not neurotic, things like that, like just basic human values and traits that would really go well into having a good relationship, and they're similar values to you. You think those must-haves, absolute base must-haves of any human interaction that would lead to a relationship, you think that's a unicorn. There's no point. I won't even look at it. All women and men out there dating is trash. I'll just get the icing. I'll just have the nice to haves. I'll just have the lottery win if I can have it for a day, and I'll pretend to be rich for a day. Go ahead. I don't care. Do what you want, as long as I like saying, it's your life. So run the aforementioned things that I've described earlier in this stream. Know what you want, what your week looks like, what your life looks like, especially if you really like your life and you really don't want it to change, because you know you will change the core of who you are. You'll have to become somebody else. And if you know that, look for someone comparable, not a mirror, but comparable, where your 2 lives will seamlessly fit into each other with a little bit of adjustment. I had to accommodate Stephanie and she had to accommodate me, but it's just making space for a person with similar values, like you would accommodate your best friend if they came into your house for a bit. You need to kind of adjust a few things. You can't delusionally live on your own in your head and keep getting frustrated at a partner like they're a pet, that if they're not standing at attention like a Doberman, that they get punished or you get rid of them. So form your must-haves from this list of knowing who you are. So I talk to a lot of people where they've convinced themselves and given up, and it's fine if you have. I keep saying it. I'm not saying you need to get into a relationship. But if you are looking, look realistically. And the first point of call for looking realistically is to be realistic with who you are. And not, I know a lot of people actually see themselves in the future. Like, I'm going to start the gym and have this body in a year. Therefore, I'm going for a 10 as a partner now. It's like, no, you're not there yet if that's your standard. So you have to be realistic about things. Mr. Adams Apple says human beings in general are disgusting. Be careful about, like, I agree generally. Most people are a joke, but don't take it too seriously. Don't get too, serious about this. Otherwise, that will become your attitude and it'll make it even harder to tolerate people out there, let alone anyone who colors outside the lines slightly. Again, say you meet someone that's 80% compatible with you. Would you say no? Are you always holding out for 100% perfect partner? And say you find them, then you change in a year or two. Do they need to change magically in the same way? In that case, you just want a relationship with yourself. Frank P. Open communication can acknowledge shortcomings, healthy perspective on reality. Yes. Again, I encourage people, not because I'm trying to shill this, but we talked about this, Stephanie and I, in our chat yesterday on our couples channel, where we talk about everything. And look, it naturally comes from me and it naturally comes from Stephanie. We're just built that way. It's another way I knew we were compatible, because we just were that right from the beginning. She never gets tired of me talking. I never get tired of talking with her. And it's at our core value. So I'm like that naturally. And she's really into that as well. And she talks a bit less than I do, unsurprisingly. But open communication is the absolute lifeblood of our relationship. And I would say, for me, the only way to know that my empirical experience with Stephanie and what I know to be true in our life, how I feel about her, I know it to be true because we talk about it where there's never any hidden levels. If I have a thought, I talk about it. There is no hidden, that's just girls and I'll let it go. I'll let her know and she'll let me know if something's annoying or she's not sure what I meant by that. And we just clarify things. So communication is huge, huge. And I go on about articulating yourself and knowing what you think and verbalizing it. One, you feel great about yourself. You're clearly expressing as best you can who you are. So the other person has less and less or no excuse in not knowing where you stand on things. Here, this is who I am. See me for exactly who I am. Therefore, later on, Chicky Poo, if you're like, well, I thought this, like, no. There's no, you thought this. I told you exactly who I was over and over again. It stops this blame game. And if anything, you don't feel guilt later on because you expressed yourself and you showed yourself exactly for who you are. If they chose not to, if they gaslit themselves, if they try to gaslight you, which they really can't because you know how to talk, express, and you catch lying and gaslighting. But if you're always honestly communicating, it doesn't happen. Most people don't. Most people out there find relationships difficult and hard because they don't talk, they don't find it important, they can't be bothered, they say they're not good at it, but it's exactly why they keep running into the same walls, because they look for signs, they hope they vibe together as long as possible to be able to have kids. Like, let's vibe together for 30 years, sweet cheeks. Yeah, good luck. Good luck vibing together. In my case, I can't vibe together with someone for more than a few dates to a week. What do you talk about? I suppose most people are more surface and avoidant. I thought I was avoidant. Jeez, I look at these outgoing people, I think they're more avoidant than I ever was. I was feeling guilty about nothing compared to some of the people that say, oh, I'm open. And they're like, yeah, you're open out there. You talk about the wine and the restaurant, and you take photos about going to Greece and Morocco and your plane trip and how great your life is. But you never talk about your inner world with your partner. You never have real discussions with the people that matter. You're never showing people who you are. And then later on, it's like, ooh, I lost myself when I was with them. It's like, no, you never showed yourself. You never showed yourself. And now you can't hold your breath anymore. You really need to breathe again. And that's why you get rid of somebody. That's my take on it. I find, Neanderthal, how are you, man? He says, I find that men in general are very varied in what they want in a partner. And while most women seem to want the exact same partner as all the other women, no wonder so many people are single. Yes, that is a difference between men and women, generally speaking. Not individually for any of you trigger people. You're all beautiful snowflakes. But yeah, a lot of women, and there's that anecdote I always remember of, I heard a story back in the day where it was an article where there was a woman in the office and there was a guy that really liked her, was chasing all the time. And she was annoyed. She didn't like the guy at all. And she was like, get away from me, you creep. I don't want to go out with him. And then she told her girls, like, I rejected him. He kept coming on to me. And she got off on the attention, like, oh, look how beautiful I am. This guy likes me, wants me, but I don't want him. He's so below me. He's so below my standards. What a creep, huh, girls? And the girls are saying, well, one girl said, well, if you don't want him, I'll have him. I think he's cute. He's hot. He's this, he's that. All of a sudden, a lot of the girls were saying, well, if you don't want him, I'll have him. He's single. I'm going to go after him. And then the girl that said she didn't want him initially was like, well, you know what? Well, maybe he's not so bad after all. And then I think she got with him. Just not to spite the girls, but women are very competitive with each other. Women are born enemies, generally speaking, and it takes a strong-willed, self-reflective woman to know who she is. Again, I'm not saying that finding a comparable, stable partner is easy, especially today where everyone's got their heads in a screen and their philosophy and morals are dictated by crazy on a Instagram feed, but Ted1775, does Stephanie call you human? What does she call you? What do you call me, babe?
Babe.
Babe. My name's Bobby in real life. But no, she doesn't call me human. You called me human once or twice as a joke. All right, any other questions, guys, and the few chicks that show up? Hi, Peg. If you're here and you would like to ask a question, like Neanderthal or Ted, but more like Neanderthal, add 3 smiley faces or circle, yellow or brightly colored circles in front of your comment, and I'll do my best to answer them. So while feel free to drop in now your super chat or question. We're on the last section of the stream now, so I'll wait for your questions to come in. In the meantime, let's go to the question I posed yesterday was, what do you want from a partner? And be honest about this. Let's read the comments from David P., long-time supporter. Hi, David. He says, compatibility, honesty, and communication. Yeah. Well, that's the thing, to realize, I guess, to realize through conversation first. You meet someone, you start talking, right? So I would say communication would be first as a practical mechanism when you meet someone. You have to talk, right? Otherwise, it's just like, they're pretty, I like them. So even though communication, I would agree, isn't the most important thing, communication should be the first thing. And by communicating in very compatible ways and honest ways, you will find that you are compatible, right? So communication comes first, even though it's not the most important when you meet someone. And then you realize the honesty, they don't contradict themselves, and you realize the compatibility that both of you have through what you talk about. So that's actually a really good one. I would agree with all three of those. Understanding, support, reliability. Yes, reliability. That's a good one. If they always let you down, again, you need to find out, work out your top 3, top 5, but try and make it as simple as possible because then it's as least complicated as possible. I find that like having 1 or 2, all roads lead to that. So if someone's not reliable, I always say I want someone who's kind and respects me, right? So if they're not reliable, they're not kind and they don't respect you. If they've got a temper, they're not kind and they don't respect you. So have like a really 1 or 2 big umbrella terms that encapsulate all these smaller things. So some of these things like understanding and whatever, they're not kind and they don't respect you if they're not understanding. Softness, kindness. Basio el mucho. Things in common. Yes, that's compatibility. Seeing the world in very, very similar ways. Your values. The ethics, i.e. the rules to which you both try to adhere in life. Razor CP says, I've decided to forego any plans of a long-term relationship. Fair enough. Again, I'm never telling anyone you should. And the myopic, simple-minded people out there that just say, they're like monkey say, monkey do. If I talk about myself, I'm not instructing you. I'm telling you about the cause, the pros and the cons of, I talk to married guys. If like, this feminists might have a point with this, but men also have the point here. I'm not on one side or the other. You live your life. I forgoed women. Forgo? How would you say it? Forgoed women? I dismissed relationships and women about a year before I met Stephanie. So I know what you're talking about. Full respect to you if you're calm, solid, and you really love your life and you're not complaining about it and things are good. Right? You're not chasing it anymore. You are honestly not chasing it. You're not on dating sites. You're just good. It's like me from very young on. I was good not wanting kids. And I started to get annoyed only when people kept pushing it on me. But I never made videos about not wanting kids. I didn't make my channel about not wanting kids, for instance. My channel was largely about working out my problems with women and relationships, and that was a thing I could never get correct. And eventually I just gave up on it. I figured, look, either I'm no good at it or I can't work it out. Women in the West are just, it's like looking for like Earth in the universe, another Earth, a livable planet. And it's just, I don't have the time anymore. My fuel tank is gone. So I get that. So respect. If you're really good with it, don't have a relationship with women. That's fine. Ralph Anders says, empathy, loyalty, encouragement and admiration, also youthfulness and good sex. Yeah. Look, whatever's important. Some of these things, youthfulness and good sex, that's nice and it's great, but I don't think it should be at the top of your tree. It's like a nice extra one to have. Like, for me, it's a nice extra to have Stephanie 15 years younger than me. It's nice, but it wasn't at the top of my tree. I never even looked at girls who were much younger than me. But it worked out. Actually, that's not true. The only relationship that worked before Stephanie, she was 8 years younger than me. All the rest were my age. So maybe there is something to that. Look, I don't know. You could look again. I'm open-minded. I'm willing to look at my theories. Honesty, yes. I think if you don't feel a sense of respect from the other person, that's a big thing too. But again, they're kind of more second level that should be pointing to 1 or 2 top tier, really big Everest things that you need. There's a chance, says, mental and emotional health for self before being concerned for mine, practice of all love languages. I don't know if I agree with this. Practice of all love languages? I don't think you can practice all of them. Like love languages, if you do the test, it actually tells you which of the 4 love languages are most important for you hierarchically. So I know with me, I've got my top one as being, what was my top one?
Physical touch.
Yeah, my top need in the love languages was physical touch. And then next was quality time. Stephanie's was quality time at the top, and second was words. So, conversation and spending time together is really big for us. Although I need touch much more. That's the top thing that I need. And you probably wouldn't have guessed it, the amount that I speak. But just try and imagine the way I speak in terms of physical touch. And that's probably making me into a psycho. Prince Revolver says reciprocation. Yeah, that's to me shorthand for compatibility. Me says, I'd settle for a warm blow-up doll at this point over most women. Fair enough. Fair enough. I really don't. I respect any person that's sanely and sensibly and without anger or spurging out, just living any way they want. A monk in the woods, someone with a blow-up doll, just spending money on prostitutes, whatever you want to do, having nothing to do with women, married with kids, but you're happy. As long as you're happy, I don't care. That's all I ever wanted to be. I wanted to work out my problems so I could have a contented, happy life. Drizzly Bear says partner implies an equality that simply isn't there. Stop using the term. How about I don't? And he says the recent trend of using that term is specifically for pretending that relationships are an equal benefit for both people. And here's the point, whether or not she does her job or of having children. See, that's a very particular view of you. You do relationships and that's your standard. She has to bear your children, which I never wanted. And you think that the term partner implies that it's an equal benefit for both. Of course it's not. Men and women are different. And stop using the term. How about I don't? I use the terms I want to use. Jesus. Anyway, any final comments? Let's get back to the stream. Any of you guys with a final comment? I'll start going down the list. Babe, Ted17776 says, I think Stephanie should call you Emperor or Sir or your Excellency. You actually
sometimes I do.
What do you call me? What do you call me? Sometimes?
Like Lord or something.
Yeah, my Lord.
It's just for fun.
Yeah. But what is it? Once did I use it? No. I'm going to use the term once if we're with family or friends. And I noticed, because sometimes you have couples at barbecues and family events, you could tell couples that have a typical angry relationship with each other. The guy especially is walking on eggshells around his girlfriend and she gives him a mean look, but we're always joking around. And I want to one day when we're somewhere at a function and I can see a couple, the girl being a bit of a feminist, I want to say to you, babe, get me this. And you say no. And I say, obey me and I love you. But you'll laugh at it. And I just want to see the look on the other woman's face. Brian says, maybe accepting the concept that your partner doesn't think like you. Yes, that is actually a really good, astute observation. Again, it goes without saying, right? I agree with you. But a lot of people don't think about these very basic, real life, foundational, human, pedestrian, out there in the world things. We get so caught up in the politics of all of this. Like, I'm right with my little manifesto in my little bubble online with my friends that high-five each other. And we're perfect. And we've got this perfect utopia mapped out. And we're going to wait around until this world becomes real. And it never will. Yeah. accept the concept that your partner doesn't think like you, especially if you're heterosexual. If you're gay, you got a bit more leeway. You're both men or you're both women. And he continues, causes me problems in non-romantic relationships. Other people act as though they know what I'm thinking. Bad assumption. Yes. And if you talk, as I said, speech, conversation clarifies your assumptions. It forces you to interact, to relate to someone honestly and in the real world. If you don't say a lot, if you just like, well, women are like this and there's no point talking, then you are just having a relationship with the fantasy script in your head. And again, you're high-fiving your bros online. You're high-fiving I'mRight.com every time you go out there. And even if you don't care about other people, I was going to say you look like a fool to other people, but even though you don't care what they think, which is fine, you are always frustrated because it's never working. And as a guy, you're also frustrated that you can't fix the problem. And if you can't realistically look at the problem with you in relation to the world, how you're thinking, talking, active listening, then you are getting frustrated at yourself, but you're superimposing it onto others. That's what chicks do. They throw it on you and say it's your problem. Well, if you don't know, I'm not telling you. Well, why not? Tell me. You just don't get it. Tell me. Use your words, brainiac. So I would encourage everyone to learn how to use their words and tell people exactly what they want, who they are, and then you'll either get that or you won't. Instead of trying to force a square peg into a round hole and make every hot person or attractive person or a person that just gives you a shot into a relationship and then just blaming, oh, all women are like this. Like, well, you don't care about actually knowing that they're compatible with you, then what do you expect? Same with jobs. Take any job for the money, you'll get the same frustrations. But have your selection process a little bit more refined and a bit more selfish, like realistically selfish in terms of like what you need and who you are, then you're going to get more of what you want. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be like, well, the world opens up to you if you listen to what I say, and then you'll get women knocking at your door and you'll get dates left, right, and center. But you will get better quality and you're not going to get as many train wreck stories afterwards. Hey, Ronan, how are you? Always fun to come here when I can. Don't know if I ever want a woman. I'm more monk than anything, but I've been using all these info for years from now for observation based. Yes, this conversation, if it's kind of like, because you run into women and if you're always open to dating, depending on who comes along, if that interaction becomes, you meet someone, say you're not interested in dating, you're not even pursuing it, but if you kind of know the vocabulary, you're always talking and having these conversations, because if they come across you in life, you meet someone, you have a conversation, and you can see they're flirting. It might be going here, and you're thinking, "Wow, this might be something." If you know what how you think about this stuff, and you know what to say, it will become clearer because you'll know whether it's a yes or a no. So, yeah, again, like Ronan, jiu-jitsu and medicine, respect to him or anyone else who just lives their life and they're not pursuing relationships or they have no interest in it. But just be realistic about it like he is. Ted1776 says, what about frame? Why is my camera always trying to autofocus? I think I've got my focus set differently because it's higher. I'll need to test it later on, but I'm not doing it now. All right. Any final questions? Let's wrap the stream up. We have been going for how long? Nearly an hour. Nice to wrap it up. Perfect timing. So again, let's wrap all this up in terms of this topic here. Do you know what you want from your partner? And what is your must-have? Not like to have, not extras, but without which you really can't be with this person, and you know it. All the stuff you complain about when you're alone with guys, when you're really being honest, if you are being realistic and honest about, yeah, this would be nice, but really, if a woman just had A and B already, I would give it a chance. I would see where it could go. I would see if we're compatible. If that's the key that unlocks the door, you would give it a shot. You'd be open to it. What are your 1 and 2? And are they realistic? And then you'll be able to see clearly your haves versus your nice to haves. So I appreciate all the nice to haves that I have with Stephanie, but I wouldn't know them or care about them if I didn't have the must haves. Those must haves are, the cement in your foundation. You have to have them. Ted says, stomach full and balls empty. All right, I think that's it. Any last super chats or questions? Let me just run through the comments to see if I have gotten all of them. Let's see. She belongs in the kitchen. Yes. Brian says, maybe accepting the concept that your partner... Oh, actually, I read that. That was a good point, actually. All right, so there's no more points. Thank you, everyone. Leave your comments below. And also, let me know what further topics around this or what extra topics you might want me to discuss. Leave them in the leave them in the comments. And join, subscribe, and if you have a microphone, jump on my Discord public server. Links below after this stream, and we can all have a chat. And I encourage you to watch a related video on this subject about do you know what you want, what's good for you, and the recent live stream I had with Stephanie about our relationship and the adjustments we had, like moving in, living together, and what it's like, both from an individual's point of view, going into, living with someone and accommodating someone full time, and both from like a couple's point of view too. So yeah, have a look, have a listen, like, subscribe, and I will catch you during the following next week in a video or stream. And I'll catch the rest of you in the chat after this live stream. So have a good weekend and goodbye.